Ford Motor E Company said they were going to give an additional $600 million in shareholder dividends this year. That amount of money alone would amount to about $1 an hour raise for all Ford workers for the entire life of this next contract.
The big news, always typically the big three, what's going on with the UAW and the big three, so we're going to get to that right now. And the big updates around, the last week is the conflict between Bill Ford and Shawn Fain. And, I just think those two names, the two people, in many ways really, really encapsulate the conflict. What is going on here? Who is the fight between? Because Bill has his position because of his parents' parents, right? I mean, this guy is like literally like a feudal lord. His parents had the company, their parents had the company, and their parents had the company. So therefore, he should have the company and have enormous power over hundreds of thousands of workers directly, millions of workers indirectly in the supply chain, tens of millions of workers in the American and global economy because of the situation of his birth. Okay? And even if you buy the argument, which I do not, but let's just say I did, even if you buy the argument that if you start a business, it should be yours in perpetuity to do with what you will, no matter who else or how many others have contributed to the project or what they have contributed to the project in terms of time, in terms of their life, in terms of bodily harm, tears, money. No matter what anybody else contributes to the project, if you are the one that begins it, it should be yours in perpetuity to do with what you will without input of anybody else. Even if you buy that argument, the idea that this ownership ought extend 4 generations, while generations of workers still have little to no say about the direction of the company. Right? I mean, by this time, millions of working people have contributed. It is not by virtue of the accomplishments of Bill Ford or his parents or his parents or his parents or their parents, right? It's because of the millions of workers that have contributed to Ford. And yet, neither them nor their descendants have any say by virtue of their birth. There are a couple of them that have been able to work their way up the corporate ladder, right? But by virtue of the fact that I am a Ford worker and I was born to a Ford worker, I have no say in the direction of the company. But this guy, by virtue of his birth, he does. The executive chairman. I don't understand that. I don't understand how you defend that. It doesn't make sense to me. It literally doesn't make sense to me. He went to a private high school, then he went to Princeton. He got a master's degree in business. He is a literal billionaire because of his family. And Shawn is the grandson of multiple UAW members. Remember, that didn't give him a right to control anybody's life. He began as an electrician in Kokomo, Indiana. He was elected. He's been elected to multiple positions, but now he is the first ever international president of the UAW to be elected directly from the members, by the members. So, I mean, that is really the conflict. That's the difference in the nutshell. These are the two sides, and the sides represent, should working people have the power in society, or should we be bossed around by people who make money simply because they have money? That's the conflict. And I know what side I'm on. Anyway, so, it's kind of an interesting encapsulation of the entire saga that's been unraveling over the past several months in this last week of back and forth. So, the updates surround the back and forth between Ford and Fain, and it started when Ford gave an address early in the week, and it was really hailed as this big deal because even though Bill Ford has been part of negotiations, of every negotiation for the past 30 years or so, he's never publicly commented. So on one hand, it is a big deal, like factually speaking, this has never happened before, and now it's happening. Wow, that's a big deal. But because of everything above, right, that he has his position because of the nature of his birth, it just really burns me up that we have to give a damn what this guy says, again, because of his great-granddaddy, right? Nobody cares what I have to say because of my great-granddaddy, because my great-granddaddy was a nobody. My great-granddaddy was in poverty in the Great Depression on all sides of my family, right? But this guy, the world turns to him because of his last name. It burns me alive. And I don't understand how that rage isn't in everybody who has to work for what they have. How does it not burn you up? Almost virtually every single person under the sound of my voice right now, everybody online, everybody in the radio audience, WZZA, WHIV, and WVNN here in Huntsville, even the conservative station here in Huntsville, virtually everybody under the sound of my voice has to work for what we have. But this guy, Bill Ford, because of his last name, the whole world turns to him when he has something to say. It's just, it eats me up. I don't understand how it doesn't eat everybody up. Okay, but so here was the overarching message that Bill Ford had. This was the theme and what he wanted to get across. Let's play this clip.
And I call on my great UAW colleagues, some of whom I've known for decades. Many are close personal friends. We need to come together to bring an end to this acrimonious round of talks.
Please stop. Please stop is basically the thing. And so, in support of his begging the UAW to capitulate to his demands, he does kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. And so first he pulls the super familiar, we're all family. We're in this together. Let's play this clip.
This should not be Ford versus the UAW. It should be Ford and the UAW versus Toyota, Honda, Tesla, and all the Chinese companies that want to enter our home market. Toyota, Honda, Tesla, and the others are loving this strike because they know the longer it goes on, the better it is for them. They will win, and all of us will lose.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
So there we go. We're a family. It should be us versus the world. Ford and the UAW in it together. Ford versus the world. Ford and the UAW versus the world. So, isn't that nice? Isn't he sentimental? Isn't he so sweet? But then after that, he turns into something of a mob boss. And so let's listen to, we heard, good guy Bill Ford, and now let's listen to mob boss Bill Ford.
This is why Ford's ability to invest in the future isn't just a talking point. It's the absolute lifeblood of our company. And if we lose it, we will lose to the competition. America loses. Many jobs will be lost. So will future investments. We'll lose factories like the one we're in here today. And communities will suffer greatly.
It's a nice factory you got there. It would be a shame if something happened to it. It's really gross. Really gross to threaten people's jobs like that if you don't get what you want in your negotiations. And even more gross in light of the revelation that Fain made in his Friday address, where in part he responded to Ford. Let's take a look at what Fain revealed in his live stream.
So billionaire Bill Ford made his own speech this week, talking down to us and telling us what we should be willing to accept. Literally the next day, the company made an astounding announcement. Ford Motor E Company said they were going to give an additional $600 million in shareholder dividends this year. That amount of money alone would amount to about $1 an hour raise for all Ford workers for the entire life of this next contract. Dividends are just throwing money at Wall Street. And I don't have to tell you, lavishing money on people who are already rich doesn't improve the business, and it does not improve the economy. It doesn't make Ford more competitive, and it doesn't secure a future for Ford. Investing in our members does all that.
That's wild. Having the gall to say, oh, we need to be competitive. We need to be competitive. It needs to be us versus the world. And you have to take this in order that we might be competitive. And then the next day, literally the next day, throw out over $500 million to rich people, to people who are making money because they have money. If the UAW has to sacrifice, if the UAW has to bring down their expectations so that Ford should be competitive, why shouldn't the shareholders? Why shouldn't the shareholders? Why shouldn't people like Bill Ford? And that's how you know that all of this competition stuff is BS.
Correct.
That's how you know that, because if there was even, a lot of propaganda is good because there's a nugget of truth there, right? That's how you distinguish good propaganda from bad propaganda, or propaganda that is lying to you. That's how you distinguish a good lie from a bad lie. The good lie has a kernel of truth. This doesn't even have a kernel of truth, because if there was a kernel of truth, you would see Bill Ford coming out and saying, here is not only what we are asking to take from the UAW, or what we are refusing to give to the UAW. Here's what we are willing to sacrifice. Here's the restrictions that we are willing to put on our earnings. Or here is how we will tie our earnings to the earnings of the UAW members, so that literally when we win, they win. That's what you would see. If there was actual concern about competition, you would see them saying, okay, look, we're in a really tight spot. We have all this competition around us. We really need to keep the wages and benefits no higher than this. So in good faith, here's our sacrifice. They never, ever, ever do that. And they have not in this round of negotiations. And immediately after preaching about competition, we need competition, they go and just shovel money out the door. Okay? So it's BS when you hear all of this. And don't buy it. And Shawn Fain reacted specifically to that language of, not only the competition, calling out the hypocrisy of saying we need to be competitive while shoveling money out the door to people who already have money. He also responded to the concept of, is it the UAW and Ford versus the world? Is that how it is? And is that how it should be? Here's how Shawn Fain responded to that.
Bill Ford said it shouldn't be Ford versus the UAW. He said it should be the UAW and Ford against foreign automakers. I want to be crystal clear on one thing. The days of the UAW and Ford being a team to fight other companies are over. We won't be used in this phony competition. We will always and forever be on the side of working people everywhere. Non-union auto workers are not the enemy. Those are our future union family. Since the stand-up strike began, we've had thousands of non-union auto workers reaching out,
wanting to join our movement. So no, we're not going to partner with Ford in a race to the bottom. And we're not going to partner with the big three to match the low standards of the non-union automakers. Instead, we're going to organize non-union auto workers everywhere. Together, we're going to stand up and take on corporate greed. Right now, we're striking the big three like we've never struck before. Next, we're going to organize non-union auto companies like we've never organized before. And together, auto workers are going to fight to make sure that auto jobs everywhere are good jobs. Jobs that can sustain a family. Jobs that allow everyone to retire with dignity. Jobs that are essential to the green economy without sacrificing our union standards.
So there we go. Great message, and exactly correct. Exactly correct. Tesla workers, Hyundai workers, they are not the enemy. They're in the same class as we are, and we need to treat them and regard them in that way, because that's the way that the working class will improve our lot. That's the way that we are going to bring the ranks up. Not by regarding some sections of the working class as our enemy, but by regarding all of the working class as part of the same fight. So, really good stuff there.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.